You've probably heard a lot about Roth IRAs and 401ks. These are two of the most popular tax-advantaged investment accounts in the United States, and for good reason. These retirement accounts allow you to invest your money, grow it over time, and withdraw it for no or a lot less taxes than you would pay in a normal investment account. But what if there was another, even better tax-advantaged account out there that you've probably never heard of? If you watch it all the way through to the end, this video will teach you everything you need to know about health savings accounts, or HSAs. I'll tell you why HSAs are important, why nobody is taking advantage of these incredibly strong accounts, and how they can help you secure your financial freedom and your future. If that sounds good, make sure to free your mouse so that you can click the like button to secure this video's future in the YouTube algorithm. While you're down there, you can also subscribe and ring the bell if you'd like to be notified when new videos come out every Friday. They'll help you live a life you love through personal finance and self-improvement. Health savings accounts are one of the various different tax-advantaged investment accounts. You're likely familiar with the Roth IRA or the 401k. Tax-advantaged accounts allow you to either pay no taxes as part of the investing process or to pay these taxes later. With the Roth IRA, your money is taxed before it goes into the account, but it gets to grow and be taken out both tax-free. Your contributions to a 401k get to go in and grow tax-free, but you'll have to pay income taxes when you go to withdraw the money. Health savings accounts have the unique advantage of giving you a triple tax advantage. Your money can be contributed tax-free, your investments can grow tax-free, and you can withdraw your gains tax-free, but with an asterisk. This is because in order for these withdrawals to be completely tax-free, they must be spent on qualified medical expenses, hence health savings account. Qualified medical expenses are basically anything that you'd go to the doctor for or use your insurance to cover. We'll talk about these in greater detail later. If you withdraw money from your HSA for anything other than a qualified medical expense, you're going to be hit with a 20% tax penalty. Plus, that money is going to be taxed as regular income. The 20% penalty goes away once you reach age 65. After that age, you can withdraw money from your HSA for any reason penalty-free. At that point, the HSA is basically an equivalent to the 401k. You can contribute your pre-tax money into the account and withdraw it penalty-free after a certain age. Either 55 or 59 and a half for the 401k, depending on your circumstances. However, the 401k does not have the additional tax advantage of covering qualified medical expenses, and that's what makes the HSA so powerful. These tax-advantaged investment accounts are oftentimes also called tax-advantaged retirement accounts. Retirement, or at least the age specified in these accounts for all the financial independence retire early types out there, is quite a long time away for most of us. In this old age, we're much more likely to encounter things that are going to require us to spend money on qualified medical expenses than we are right now. The cost of medical care is only increasing. Combine that with rampant inflation, and then the HSA is the perfect tool for you to grow your money over time as your medical costs increase and as you age, but tax-free. Let's talk numbers. You're able to contribute $3,600 worth of pre-tax money into your HSA, and that's the yearly contribution limit. Next year in 2022, it's increasing to $3,650. Starting at age 55, you can contribute an extra $1,000 up to $4,600 now, or $4,650 in 2022. This is called a catch-up contribution. If you make the maximum contribution starting when you are 18 years old, you will have over $700,000 available when you are 65 years old, assuming a modest and conservative 5% return. That's up to $1.8 million if you use the 8% average return from the stock market. Now that's quite a lot of money, at least in my opinion. If you have any big medical expenses when you're in retirement, you're going to have a giant nest egg that's able to cover those expenses tax-free. But if you need to withdraw the money for other reasons, you'd still only have to pay the regular income tax like with the 401k. For contributing $186,150 in total to your HSA from the ages of 18 to 65, you'll have over $700,000. If you stop making contributions and just let that money continue to grow at 5%, you'd have over $1.14 million in another 10 years. This is thanks to the beauty of exponential growth and compound interest. HSAs are quite the powerful tool, so let's talk details. How do you qualify for a health savings account? First, you need to have a high deductible health plan or HDHP for your insurance coverage. Next, you'll need to have no other health coverage, though there are exceptions for things like dental and vision care. You cannot be enrolled in Medicare, and you cannot be claimed as a dependent on somebody else's tax returns. If you're contributing to an HSA not as an individual but for a family, the contribution limit is $7,200 now in 2021. This is increasing to $7,300 next year in 2022. The catch-up contribution of an extra $1,000 per year starting at age 55 also applies for the family contributions. This makes the maximum contribution to be $8,300 for families starting at age 55. Depending on your employment benefits, your employer can also contribute toward your HSA. Your annual contribution limits are for the total between your and your employer's contributions toward your HSA. Self-employed and unemployed people can also qualify for HSAs, though they have to meet certain requirements. What kinds of expenses can you use your HSA to cover to gain the full triple tax advantage of using this account? Well, there's a pretty darn long list of what's covered. Like I said earlier, a lot of stuff that you'd go to the doctor for or that's covered by your insurance is also going to be covered by your HSA. After the CARES Act, a lot of over-the-counter medication, face masks, masks, sanitizers, and other products are included as qualified medical expenses. And this means that you can use your HSA to cover these purchases as well. For reference, here's a list of some expenses that are not qualified. Another important feature of HSAs is that they allow you to cover expenses beyond your own. For instance, you can also pay for the qualified medical expenses for a spouse or for a dependent like your children through your own HSA. These include things like babysitting and non-educational childcare programs for dependent care. The cost of raising children is also only increasing. Therefore, the HSA can help parents deal with some of these rising expenses. However, let's look at an incredibly interesting strategy of using your HSA in terms of retirement planning. There is no restriction on the withdrawal of money to cover a qualified medical expense. This means that if you are able to pay off your qualified medical and dependent care expenses in cash, you can reimburse yourself for those payments tax-free at any point in the future. Every time you buy a bottle of aspirin, pay the babysitter, or have a minor medical expense, that's money you'll be able to pull out completely tax-free from your health savings account. And by paying in cash now rather than pulling out cash from your HSA, your money will have the ability to grow larger over time. This strategy sounds kind of complicated, but it isn't. It's just not particularly common. In fact, the Employee Benefit Research Institute, or EBRI, has shown that in 2015, only 3% of HSA contributions have investments beyond cash. Of the 22 million or so Americans who had an HSA in 2020, 55% of them did not make a contribution to it in over a year. If only 3% of the other half that actually did make contributions are investing in things besides cash, well then there's a whole bunch of people missing out on these awesome benefits. One of the main issues with trends in HSA usage is that most people who contribute to their HSA also use this money to cover their medical expenses immediately. For example, EBRI research also shows that 4/5 or 80% of HSAs that had contributions made in 2015 also had distributions or withdrawals. Of course, not everybody is in the financial position to cover all of their medical expenses out of pocket. This video is meant to show the potential of utilizing a health savings account as an additional source of building wealth, providing income, and growing your assets beyond the common advice of just using a Roth IRA and 401k. If you are investing for the long term, maxing out your HSA should be a top priority after completing any potential employer-matched 401k contributions. This is because the HSA is triple tax advantage versus the 401k and Roth IRA's double tax advantage. Let's look at some examples of what you can do by paying for medical expenses out of pocket to let your HSA grow. Let's say you need to make some home repairs that are going to cost you $50,000 when you're in your 70s. Now let's say that you've also paid for $100,000 worth of qualified medical expenses over your lifetime. You will be able to withdraw the $50,000 completely tax-free out of your HSA to cover the cost of the repairs. Remember, there is no time restriction on the reimbursement of these expenses. The cost of a bottle of aspirin that you buy today when you're 22 can be reimbursed to you when you're in your 70s. And of course, as a qualified medical expense, this money is going to come back to you completely tax-free. This is obviously an exaggerated example since one bottle of aspirin doesn't cost much, but imagine the amount of money that you'll spend just on over-the-counter medications, doctor's office visits, and co-pays over your lifetime. Investing in your HSA allows you to have tax-free income in retirement by utilizing this incur expenses now and reimburse yourself for them later strategy. Going back to our example, you could have pulled out $50,000 from your 401k in order to cover the cost of the repairs. However, this money would be taxable income, and thus you'd need to withdraw more than $50,000 in order to cover both the cost of the repairs and of the associated tax bill. You could pull the $50,000 from a Roth IRA. Like your HSA, this withdrawal also won't be subject to any taxes because it's happening after you're age 59 and a half. Check out another one of my videos to get more details on the Roth IRA. However, your contributions to your Roth IRA were already made with post-tax income. Therefore, utilizing money from your health savings account saves you the most money in the long run due to its triple tax advantage. Plus, in this example, you'd be able to pull out another $50,000 completely tax-free. On top of that, you also haven't touched your Roth IRA or your 401k, allowing them to keep growing in order for you to boost your assets so that you can provide some generational wealth for your family. As a caveat, I should point out that completely tax-free is a slight misnomer. Some things that you purchase that can be qualified medical expenses may be subject to sales or other taxes in your state. However, qualified medical expenses are things that we have to pay for regardless. Plus, these taxes only really increase the expense, allowing you to withdraw more tax-free later. And finally, paying something like sales tax on an item will be a lot less money in the long run versus paying additional income taxes. Even after taking out money to cover expenses, your HSA can still continue to grow. If you run out of qualified medical expenses, you can still withdraw this money after 65 as taxable income, like with the 401k. But HSAs also enable the strategy of being able to pay for your medical expenses in retirement. As you can imagine, the elderly encounter a lot more medical expenses as they age. Between prescription drugs, normal checkups, doctor's visits, as well as any potential surgeries, your HSA can be there to completely wipe out these costs. Essentially, you can use your HSA to remove healthcare as a factor from your long-term budget by investing in your HSA early. Make sure to also invest in this channel early by clicking that like button if you learned something valuable. Please also subscribe and ring the bell if you'd like to be notified when when new videos come out every Friday? Do you have a health savings account? Will you be starting one now? Let me know. Comment down below. Click the video on screen to watch another that you're going to enjoy, and then please add some music, a health savings account, or whatever else it is that you love to your day.